spirit. Plus, we glad to have our guest and speaker, Ron Smith. Just to give a little background on Ron Smith was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Morehead State University. After graduation, he volunteered for a one-year assignment for the Anti-Poverty VISTA program in Atlanta, Georgia. The following year, he was appointed news director at WMKY, the public radio station in Morehead, Kentucky. 2 years later, he was hired as a news reporter producer for WEKU Radio in Richmond, where he also hosted a live TV interview program. Over his nearly 40-year career in broadcasting, he conducted thousands of interviews, ranging from the spiritual Dalai Lama to a cold-blooded mafia killer. He has received dozens of state and national awards for his work from the Associated Press Public Radio, News Directors, and the Religious Newscasters of America, as well as President George H.W. Bush's prestigious White House Council on Disabilities Award for Radio. Embarking on his second career, Ron completed course requirements that led to endorsement to teach English as a second language. Over the past 17 years, he has taught numerous classes for ECL programs at Eastern Kentucky University and the University of Kentucky. He's awarded a Fulbright scholarship and has taught ECL classes in Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Ron became a Muslim in 1982. He subsequently served as a co-advisor for the Muslim Student Association at EKU, and was a board member of Kentucky CHIR, a national organization that advocates civil rights protection for Muslim Americans. He is currently involved in interfaith activities as a steering committee member in Lexington's based organization, Christian Muslim Dialogue. He's currently married to Dr. Kaiser Sultana, retired chair of Department of Special Education at EKU and a native of Pakistan. They currently reside in Richmond, Kentucky. We are very glad to have Ron Smith here today.
Thank you, Benjamin. That was a nice introduction. I appreciate it. I should begin with a common greeting. Do I have a full screen, or is it something you're working on, Reverend Wright?
Sure. Did you want to share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, you're full screen. If you're going to your presentation, you can share screen.
Okay. All right. Well, I began with the common greeting among Muslims and the universal greeting of all the prophets from Abraham to Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. First, thanks to Reverend Wright for inviting me to speak. It seems a lot of times that Muslims are left out of the discussion, so I applaud you, Reverend, and Berea College for including Islam as part of your Spiritual Seekers program. As a longtime resident of Richmond, I'm very familiar with Berea College's long tradition of being open-minded, of being fair, especially on matters of religion and other controversial issues. And you might be surprised to know that there are a lot of commonalities between Berea College and the Islamic faith, and I'll point out 4 of them. Number one, as you know, the Berea College, you know the history of the school. It was founded in the 1850s by an abolitionist and anti-slavery advocate, John G. Fee. In Arabia of Muhammad's time, that is the 7th century, slavery not only existed, but was institutionalized. It was rampant in Arab culture and society. The Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad and called for the freeing of slaves through a gradual emancipation, with the goal of eliminating the institution of slavery once and for all. So both Berea College and Islamic Revelations expressed a common opposition to slavery at their respective times in history. And this was a time in both cases where it was revolutionary and even dangerous to do that. Point two, Berea was the first college in the American South to be interracial. Berea College's motto is, God has made of one blood all peoples of the earth. One of Muhammad's first and most loyal followers was Bilal, a freed Black slave. In his last public speech, Muhammad made an astounding statement for that time, and when he said the following, I'll quote this: "There is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, or of a non-Arab over an Arab, and no superiority of a white person over a Black person, or of a Black person over a white person, except," and this is the important point, "except on the basis of personal piety and righteousness." So both Berea College and Islam share the principle of racial equality. Point three, equality of educational opportunity. Once again, back to Berea's history, the first college in the American South to be coeducational. Likewise, Islam emphasizes the equality between males and females and stresses educational opportunities for both. And there are several sayings of Prophet Muhammad to illustrate this point. Quotation number one: "Every Muslim, male and female, is requested to seek knowledge." Secondly, acquisition of knowledge is binding on all Muslims, male and female. The third point, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Fourthly, acquire knowledge even if you have to go to China for it. And the last point, the person who goes forth in search of knowledge is striving hard in the way of Allah until his or her return, that is, until a person dies. A fourth point, an emphasis on work and self-reliance. And this is from the Berea College website that you in Berea are probably already familiar with. As a continuous learning environment built upon Berea's great commitments and common learning goals, Berea College expects all workers to be active learners, workers, and servers. Active learners, workers, and servers. And this is also reflected in the Berea College motto, learning, labor, and service. Learning, labor, and service. Likewise, Islam stresses work and self-sufficiency. And this is a quote from the Quran. "And when the prayer has been concluded, disperse within the land and seek from the bounty of Allah. And remember Allah often that you may succeed." Seek from the bounty of Allah simply means a person has to make an effort to make a living. So the Islamic concept of work discourages not working. That is an indignity, especially when you feel compelled, a person feels compelled to beg. That is unacceptable in Islam. So those 4 points tell me there's a definite link between the principles of Berea College and the religion of Islam. Like all of you, I was and still am a spiritual seeker. Following an examination of Islam, I found solid reasons to accept it as the truth. And as Benjamin pointed out, I accepted Islam in the fall of 1982. All of us are lifetime learners, so I think we also think of ourselves as lifetime seekers of spiritual knowledge. I want to open things to some questions and answers, but thought it would be useful for you to give a brief overview of Islamic principles, and we'll do that now with a short PowerPoint presentation. And let me pull that up on the screen. The articles of faith, I've listed the basics. This is kind of bare bones, but the oneness of God, there's only one God. God does not have a sex. There is no God and goddess, only God.
Ron, we can't see your screen if you're sharing, but it's fine. We can hear the principles that you're discussing.
Okay, well, let me see if, let me go back.
It's okay if you just want to walk through. I know we tried this out, everyone, beforehand, and everything worked beautifully. So I know that could be frustrating.
I don't see my share screen.
Now mine is an icon right across the bottom of the screen. Mine is actually green. It says share screen at the bottom. Sometimes they aren't the same.
Okay, I see share, but not share screen. Let me. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, so I'm just going to have to go through this. The articles of faith, oneness of God. There's only one God. He has no sex. Secondly, a belief in the books of God, and that pertains to the books given to Moses, as well as Jesus and Muhammad. Messenger of God start from Adam and end with Muhammad. A Muslim believes in these things. Angels as unseen creatures created by God for special missions. Gabriel was an angel. And the last article of faith is belief in the day of judgment. There are pillars of Islam, 5 basic pillars, the foundations of Islam. First of all, the declaration of faith. La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is only one God. There is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. Prayer, of course, a very important part of a Muslim's life. There are 5 daily prayers given at certain times of the day. A third pillar is fasting during the month of Ramadan. Because it's based on a lunar calendar, fasting can be either 29 or 30 days. This is abstinence from any food or drink from sunrise to sunset, and any sexual relations with one's spouse. A fourth pillar is Zakat. Zakat is 2.5% of one's income that is paid every year for support of poor people. And a final pillar is Hajj or pilgrimage. And we'll go over that. Actually, I'm going to go by these one by one as I go through the slides, unfortunately, that you can't see. But as far as the articles of faith are concerned, once again, the oneness of God, belief in the books of God, messengers of God. We believe in all of them, starting from Adam, ending with Muhammad. We believe in angels. Gabriel was an angel, pronounced in Arabic, Jabril, who brought the revelations to Muhammad. Jabril is also thought to be the angel who came to Mary to tell her of the miraculous birth of Jesus. And the day of judgment, where all of us will receive our book of deeds or misdeeds and judge upon them. I'll get back to prayer, our required 5 times a day prayers. The first one is before sunrise at dawn, when theoretically you can't tell a white thread from a black thread. In other words, it's dark. Then one at about the noon hour. In the afternoon, mid-afternoon, in the evening at sunset, and at night before going to bed. What is prayer? There are one certain verse is recited at every prayer. It's only 7 verses. It's called Surah Fatiha and is actually referred to as the essence of the Quran. This prayer is said first in all of the 5 obligatory daily prayers. And you can make any other prayers you like throughout the day. This Surah Fatiha in the obligatory prayers is followed by another verse of your choice from the Quran. Prayer in Islam is not only spiritual, but physical. There are certain movements, starting with standing position, then bending, then actually prostrating, putting one's forehead to the ground. On to fasting. Again, it's during the month of Ramadan, which is the 9th month of the Islamic year. Total abstinence, food, drink, sexual relations with one's spouse from dawn to sunset. It offers a spiritual cleansing. The person is thinking about self-control, self-discipline, self-restraint, and as much as anything else, empathy and compassion for those people who don't have food or beverages throughout the day. And we know there are so many people in the world in that position. If nothing else, fasting allows us, encourages us to have compassion for those people. Fasting is prescribed in the Quran, so this is part of our devotion to God. As far as Zakat is concerned, Zakat is a term for that some people might confuse with charity, but they're totally different. Simple charity is, in the way we look at it in the West, is voluntary giving money out of your own pocket to someone out of the kindness of your heart. Well, it goes beyond that in Islam. Zakat is prescribed upon a person. We must do this. 2.5% of our assets per year, 2.5%. And where did this money go? If you have poor relatives, it goes to them first. It goes to other needy people, for travelers, orphans, and people who ask. There are other forms of charity that are under the umbrella of zakat, including kharat, which is a charity of wisdom or intelligence. In other words, you are sharing what you know, your knowledge, with other people. That's a form of charity. Sadhaka is another form, and this is simple voluntary giving. This is if you see someone on the street who you feel really needs money, genuinely needs it, or you want to put money in the Salvation Army kettle at Christmas time, this comes under the heading of Sadhaka. Another form of zakat is ihsan, and this is simply anything good that you share with other people. It's counted in your favor as zakat. And a final category, fisabilillah, which is distribution of your wealth, part of your wealth, for the love of Allah, simply from the standpoint of you love Allah so much, you know that He wants you to do the right thing. So this comes under that heading. You're probably all familiar with the pilgrimage. This commemorates the trials and tribulations of Prophet Abraham, his wife Hagar, and their son Ismail. Every Muslim is required to make pilgrimage once in his or her lifetime under certain conditions. First, this person has to be a Muslim. The person has to be an adult. The person has to be debt-free. It costs a lot of money to make pilgrimage. So you can't leave a debt behind. If something happens to you, you clear up all of your debts before you go. Hajj is a very strenuous activity. So a person should be physically sound. A lot of walking. Excuse me. There's something between 2 and 3 million people make Hajj during the normal year, not COVID years, but 2 or 3 million people. So you can imagine you're going to be bumped by a lot of people. You're going to be walking long distances because there are so many people there. So a person has to be physically sound. And also, a person has to have a sound mind, that is, know what you're doing. It can't be a person who has some emotional instability. So those are the bare bones of Islam. And I'm sorry that we couldn't see the slides, but we can get back to our video now, and maybe Benjamin open things up to questions and answers. There we go. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Now,
So now we'll have questions and answers. I just have one question concerning Christian Muslim dialogue. As you know, there's many similarities between Christianity and Islam, but also many differences and often disagreements. So what are some advices on how to have those, good dialogue, even amongst the disagreements within Christianity and Islam?
well, I would say the number one thing that you may want to search for is what are things that we can agree on? What are our commonalities? And as I mentioned in the open of my talk, there are a lot of commonalities between Berea College and Islam. Well, there are so many commonalities between Islam and Christianity and Judaism. They're all Abrahamic faiths. So we share a lot more in common than divides us. So in any kind of a dialogue, I would think that the first thing we need to establish is there are a lot more things that bring us together than divide us. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. If there are any more questions from anybody, please feel free to ask.
I am going to, Benjamin, if it's okay. I see where I made my mistake earlier. It might help if, no, it won't. No, it won't, because I got out of the PowerPoint. So sorry about that. We're back where we started. So any other questions?
This is Sylvia. Yes, I have a question. A family member of mine, it's my uncle, and he was Muslim or is Muslim. But when his sister died, he did not turn up for the funeral. Said he's not allowed to do that. Could you comment on that for me? Because we were really concerned that he didn't turn up for the funeral of his sister.
Well, thank you for your question. The way I understand it, Dr. Asante, is you should not go to the grave of a relative, someone who has been openly hostile to Islam. Other than that, of course, this is your blood relative. You hope the best for them in the next life. But this is my understanding that only if a person who has been openly hostile to you as a Muslim, the interpretation I understand is not allowed to go to the grave. Now, this gets back actually to the experience of Abraham. Abraham loved his father like any son does, but his father hated what Abraham was saying about idol worship. Abraham said, "Why do you worship these sticks and stones? They can't help you, they can't hurt you." And this made Abraham's father and the society at that time so incensed they wanted to burn Abraham to death, which they set out to do. And the Quran says that Allah cooled the fire. Abraham escaped and went on to be one of the great prophets. But he was told, don't pray for your father. Don't pray for your father. And that has led to what I mentioned before, a person who is openly hostile to you and Islam. It is not permitted for you to pray for that person. So I'm not a scholar, but this is what I have understood through the years. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, thank you, it did.
Thank you.
Ron, thank you again for being with us. And no worries about the PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to focus, solely on your face and what you're saying to us versus looking at the screen. So no worries about that. I did want to pick up perhaps on both questions, maybe around cooling the fire kinds of sentiment, and what Ben asked about your experience with Christian-Muslim dialogue, specifically with the organization in Lexington that you've been a part of, but also in your work in journalism. There are many occurrences, conversations, subject matter where sometimes it's hard for us to even find the common ground. And I know this is a really important area for our students. And we're trying to create as many spaces as possible to have this type of healthy dialogue. And so if you can provide any other gems of wisdom just from your journey on how we can continue to work on that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, just keep an open mind. And I would say that go to trusted websites to learn more. And I say trusted because, as we all know, there are websites that purport to be legitimate and have truthful information, accurate information that are just not. So I'm going to give you some websites for your further research. One is a website for the largest Muslim organization in the United States, the Islamic Society of North America, also known as ISNA, ISNA.net. ISNA.net. Another is Islami City, ISLAMICITY.org, IslamiCity.org. And there, that particular website also carries a series of 30-minute programs that were produced in Canada by a Muslim scholar who, in my opinion, just does the best job in introducing concepts of Islam in a very non-threatening, non-judgmental. He never says what may be wrong with another religion. He never criticizes another religion. He emphasizes what is good about Islam. His name, actually, I'll give you the name, Dr. Jamal, Jamal, last name Badawi, Bawawi, Badawi. He was at St. Mary's University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. His area of expertise was in economics, but he is quite a scholar of comparative religions as well. Closer to home, I'm going to give you two websites, one for the mosque here in Richmond, one word, Masjid, MASJID, of Richmond.com. Masjid is another word, another name for mosque. Masjidofrichmond.com. And also one for the mosque in Lexington, Masjid Bilal, Bilal, MASJIDBILALKY.org. And they very recently hired their first imam, their first full-time spiritual leader. So they have a lot on their website too. Maybe before I go to, you had asked me, Reverend Wright, about some statistics concerning Islam. And let me just throw some out. The Pew Research Center did some work in 2017. These are the latest statistics available. There are 41 mosques or masjids in Kentucky, 41. At least there were in 2017. And as you would expect, the heaviest concentrations are in Louisville, Lexington, and it might surprise you to hear that there are several mosques in Bowling Green. If you want to know why, Bowling Green is a refugee center for Kentucky. A lot of Bosnians from the former Yugoslavia that broke up in civil war. So many Bosnians, Kosovars went around the world as refugees, so a lot of them settled in Bowling Green. Other places in Kentucky where there are mosques: Richmond, London, Somerset, Danville, Paducah, Elizabethtown, Murray, Prestonsburg, Florence, for a grand estimated total of about 25,000 in Kentucky. Here's an interesting statistic for you. There are approximately 3.5 million Muslims in the United States. Now, it's hard to pinpoint a more accurate number, probably because Islam doesn't have institutions that have membership roles. You go to the mosque, you don't go to the mosque. Sometimes you go, sometimes you don't go. But there is no record of who is a member of this mosque. So it's fluctuated. I've heard as many as 6 million, but this Pew survey from 2017 says 3.5 million, and that equates to about 1.1% of the population of the United States. 1.1%. And to put that in perspective, Muslims come in at about 1%, Jews come in at about 1%, Hindus 1%, Buddhists 1%. What makes it really interesting is that this 1% figure shared by all those minority religions is the same as the people who responded to that survey as saying, I don't know what I am religiously. 1%. So that kind of brings you up to speed as far as the numbers. Now, I say 41 mosques in Kentucky. Now, some of these are standalone buildings that are mosques. And I encourage you to visit the mosque here in Richmond. We've had a number of classes over the years. Professors from Berea bring their students over. For Friday prayer, that's when you're likely to see the most people. Of course, you may have to wait because of COVID, but people would attend the prayer. It's about 30 minutes long. And speaking of Q&A, that's when students can ask questions. They see what has gone on during the prayer. There are other mosques that are simply apartments that have been rented for the express purpose of making prayers, not standalone buildings. But as you heard from the number of cities involved, you can go just about anywhere in Kentucky and find Muslims. A lot of Muslims come from professional ranks, doctors, engineers. At one time, there was a visa program, I suppose it still exists in the United States, called the J-1 visa, which catered to health professionals. America was looking for more doctors, especially for rural areas, and secondly, for any inner city areas where there was a shortage of healthcare, professional healthcare workers. So that's why you see a lot of Muslims in these tiny towns across Kentucky and probably you can say just about every state, as well as inner city. So I'll leave it at that. Any other questions or comments? Dr. Asante, are you from Kenya originally?
No, I'm not. I'm originally from Jamaica.
Okay, I said that because your last name is Asante, and I know in Swahili, Asante Sana means thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But I have families all over the world, so.
Okay, Jamaica. Okay, you and Benjamin get the prize for longest distance coming to Berea.
I found Berea to be quite a place that welcomes and embodies just about anyone who chooses to be here.
Very good to hear. I've been here for about 40 years, so I know exactly what you're saying. Berea is like an oasis, really.
It is.
So,
Well, Ron, we want to thank you so much, Asante Sana, for being with us on today.
you're quick. I know you're quick.
We have learned and grown so much, and we just feel like you've given us just a broader view of our family here in this Berea area, Richmond area. When I reached out to the masjid in Richmond, they recommended you as the person that should give this talk today, and I see why. So thank you so much for being such a beautiful representative of that community of Islam. And we are better today because you said yes.
Well, no, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I know what I did wrong now in not being able to allow you to see the slides, but hopefully you were able to understand my overview of them verbally.
Most definitely. And if you'd like to send the slides, I could make them available to the attendees if you'd like to. So Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again. And next time, I promise we'll get the technical thing down.
It's all right. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.